on to the third speaker for this session, Professor K.R. Sridhara Murthy. Professor Murthy is the Director of Academics and Planning at JAIL, deemed to be University, Bangalore, and an Honorary Director of International Institute of Space Law. Professor Murthy made rich contributions to Indian space program for over 3 decades in the fields of space policy, international relations, and expanding India's commercial space activities. He had been a vice president of the International Institute of Space Law and served earlier in the boards of International Astronautical Federation and International Academy of Astronautics. He contributed to the study groups set up by the International Academy of Astronautics on space traffic management and global perspectives on regional cooperation in space, policies, governance, and legal tools. He has over 60 publications in national and international journals. With that, I would like to welcome Professor Murthy to take over the session.
Thank you, madam. It has been a privilege, particularly to see in the chair my long-term friend and also the president of the International Institute of Space Law, Dr. Kai Uwe Schrogel, who incidentally has chaired 2 study groups which were set up by the International Academy of Astronautics. So it's a special privilege, and greetings to all the participants from overseas particularly, and all the dear students of CMR University and other academic organizations. My topic is space traffic management, the evolving perspectives. I would like to do this with the help of a few slides. So may allow me to share the screen. So in this, what I would like to do is to look at, what is new in the field of, the space activities that require, greater attention towards the space traffic management, which we generally associate with safe, sustainable, and stable operations in space environment. So the other aspect is, over the last decade or so, when we look at the trends, what's the current status, and are we ready for the future developments? Coming to the new aspects in the space environment, we see that the private sector activities in space has grown by leaps and bounds, particularly when private sector has been permitted to undertake new roles. And there have been reports that the space economy, which is less than which is less than 450 billions now, is poised to grow to $1 trillion. And there is a very optimistic Chinese report which says that it could grow up to 10 trillion by the year 2050, which means that lot of activity. Of course, there have been signs of disruptive developments, particularly if we look at the reusable launch vehicle developments, which is touted to bring down the cost of access to space. So we see very exciting type of activities out in space. Space resources have been talked about by Mr. Gopalakrishnan just now. Space tourism, orbiting laboratories, refueling in space, and so on and so forth. What really makes it interesting for space traffic management is, again, the space itself is governed by a special regime, and here we have the special characteristics particularly, we cannot operate the spacecraft like aircraft, maneuverability, and you have no access to repairs. And also, over the years, if we see, because of the difficulties of the space law development internationally, we have been seeing that national regulations are taking precedence, and this could affect the interests of several nations. So there are many aspects like this which make it very interesting to look at the aspect of space traffic management. Particularly, there has been prospects for increased security related applications of space. There could be many issues relating to space traffic management that needs a considerable debate. Now, in this slide, I would like to present the current state of affairs. So in 5 segments, we can look at it. If you look at the top, it talks about space situational awareness, which is essentially knowing about the space environment, the space and time relationship of the position of various space objects. So it is a very dynamic situation, as we know, and the speeds are enormous for the space objects in Earth orbits and even beyond. Exact position is very difficult to follow. And especially if you look at the objects that are broken up, which we call as space debris, that environment is very interesting. We have as many as 23,000 objects which are tracked, and there are 500 million which is not tracked, which are of size of 1 centimeter to 10 centimeters and so on. So knowing the position of this is very important with respect to time. It is because you need to protect the operating spacecraft, and this service requires very specialized infrastructure. This space situational awareness requires very specialized infrastructure, which is now possessed by only a few countries or groups of countries, and they have been rendering the service with respect to making us know what is the position of these objects. So there are sharing of information, which is a welcome activity across the globe. So what are the issues here? One is particularly the precision of information, and second is because of the increase of the level of actors in this space today, with many private actors, many startup companies, many new government agencies, and so on. The issue is a uniform awareness and practice relating to, you're taking advantage of space situational awareness information for protecting the interests of space traffic. This is one issue. And we also have varying levels of competence in this area. So the cooperation is very important, and we have to ensure that this cooperation stays irrespective of the other geopolitical dynamics around the world. The second aspect is relating to how do we protect the space traffic, which is orderly growth of space traffic and safe operation of the objects. This is addressed almost from the beginning of 2000 through the Interagency Debris Coordination Committee, IADC. That is what you see in this segment. On the left side, you see IADC, UN, IAA. IAA is International Academy of Astronautics, where all the academics from different countries, they come together to study the problems of common concern to the world community. Here, very detailed guidelines are developed, which became the voluntary practice of many space agencies and countries around the globe. These essentially address how to limit the debris population. It was found that the collisions, they create more debris, the accidents or intentional breakups, they also create large amount of debris. So how to prevent these activities? There have been very detailed studies and guidelines have been evolved, and these have also gone through many versions, many improved perspectives have been brought in as technology advances have been taking place. Now there is no comprehensive law or regulations relating to space traffic management. We make use of some parts of the international law as embedded into the UN treaties, and also the guidelines which were specifically worked out in the context of these international bodies, as well as the United Nations Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, which looked at the long-term sustainability of space activities through a working group. All these constitute the basic elements of practice which has been followed by international community, and we have been able to so far generate the best practices to take care of the debris problem. Apart from that, if we look at the different countries, the space agencies or the concerned government agencies have brought in a lot of standards relating to the activities pursued by their subjects. So essentially, this is in terms of authorizations required relating to the launch, compliances, dispute resolutions, or supervision. All these aspects are embedded into the regulations which require the agencies which want to launch. It could be private companies or government agencies. The safety guidelines aspect relating to this is the guidelines which have been evolved so far. They address the different aspects relevant to space traffic management, that is different zones in outer space which need special attention and protection, either closer to Earth in low Earth orbits or geostationary orbits, which are popularly used for space communications. Since these space objects have also to pass through for ascent and also during the recent re-entry times, the passage through sovereign airspace and in between space, because till now, what is the boundary between the outer space and the the airspace which is subject to sovereignty? There is a haziness, gray area, although it has not hindered many space activities and growth of space activities. Probably in future, we need to look at the limitations that can come because of this lack of definition between these two zones. This is another important thing. And over and above all this, what is to be noted is the technology advances have been continuing. If we look at the air traffic management, the next generation air traffic systems have been, is being planned, and the air traffic flow management with better communications, navigation, and surveillance is being considered. Particularly, there are technologies which can provide better information with use of digital technologies and so on. These are, for example, the auto-dependent surveillance, automatic dependent surveillance broadcast systems, which are being considered for the aircraft navigations. And there had been revolutionary developments in use of drones. And so this unmanned air vehicles, they need regulation, the traffic management. So many countries are looking at integrating the traffic management systems relating to UAS with the aviation traffic management systems. And in this context, the technologies like CNS plus aviation. CNS is communication, navigation, and surveillance, and avionics plus avionics. This is what is being considered. So this is only an example how technology advances are taking the aviation and air traffic along with the unmanned air vehicle traffic further, and we can expect a large growth in this sector, which requires new type of evolutions in regulatory approaches and so on. So there is a concept of looking all these traffic management issues in a comprehensive manner. That is where there is need for deriving better understanding. That is where the research has to be continued. So on the right side box, you can see the various areas, where the technology advances are continuing and better understanding is necessary. And those things have to brought into, regulatory aspects. There is a strong school of thought because of this, that, we will not get into a very comprehensive law at this point of time for the, space traffic management, which also has to looked at along with air traffic management, and then face the problem of many technological advances which may bring in new solutions. So the approach is to have a soft approach, have flexibility at this point of time, and then allow for the further developments in the technologies, and then their applications, and then improvement of the soft law, the standards, the rules, and so on. Yes, and the practices. So when the practices become custom and the customary law can develop, and this can lead to a international acceptance and more homogeneous legal developments. This is one strong school of thought, of course, in this field. Which is better, we do not know. Right now, of course, our problem is, there is no binding requirement relating to space traffic management in several areas, particularly in the management of debris and so on, although many solutions are being sought. So this is one issue. So we can only have a reactive approach. So this is one disadvantage of waiting for a comprehensive development of space law vis-a-vis the approach of developing soft law and then going for a comprehensive law. The second issue I would like to flag is the strong foundational international law with dynamic superstructure of the customs and best practices, which is the approach, which seems to be the approach now. It can accommodate evolving technologies and provide opportunity for better understanding of technology, and then we could bring them into operational legal requirements. The third aspect that I would like to highlight is the a overarching framework is what is required now, both nationally and internationally, because there could be various approaches in different countries because of the level of development is varying, and the access to information technology facilities could be varying. So in this type of situation, it is necessary to bring in greater international cooperation through a overarching framework. As far as space traffic management is concerned, it is urgent because space activities are going to increase, and many new activities involving large number of actors are involved in this area. The International Academy of Astronautics, of course, assuming very optimistically that there will be cooperation from the international community to come together and discuss under the aegis of United Nations Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space under a legal subcommittee, and it could lead to the negotiations, could lead to a international conference and and development of an international treaty, which can lead to establishment of a suitable organizational model on one side, and also a comprehensive set of regulations on the other side of it. So this is one possible prospect which was foreseen by the academy, which should receive our support, and it is certainly, it augurs well for the very healthy space traffic management. Thank you. This is